You're tuned in to Porch Talk with Rev Pat, where raw, real talk rules. So sit back and relax with that delicious cup of coffee or tea or your favorite glass of wine as Rev Pat delivers real, transparent, and raw conversations about all things life. Let's get started.
Welcome to a new episode of Porch Talk with Rev Pat, and I am so very excited. I have with me Toseika Thomas, and we're going to do some talking about her nonprofit, Finding Destiny, and also her brand new podcast, Mask Off. That's MASK off. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, even a glass of wine, and let's get talking. Toseika, you know I'm really excited to have you. We already had our little pre-conversation, and if you're nervous, don't worry about it. I know your heart for our youth, and I have that same. That's become a part of my life because of some things that happened early on this year with a friend of mine. But God is really using you to grab these babies. There's so many people. I don't know. I was just telling a girlfriend of mine this morning that I can't ignore the problems that we have with our youth. I just can't. I heard somebody say, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's just become a part of who I am. Now that I've seen the problem on an upfront and on a personal level, I just couldn't unsee it. Right. But I want you to share with my listeners how this became a passion of yours so that they can understand and then express some of the things that you see going on firsthand, because I'm learning through you, and that's a good thing because I get to learn from somebody who's got their boots on the ground and are really truly in the fight to make the change. So share with them where your passion for this came from.
Okay, so Finding Destiny, it started off as me being a teen mother and being not having the resources I needed, the mentoring that I needed, and someone stepping up to the plate and saying, let me guide you through life. So I took that, and when I was old enough, I went back to the community and started mentoring other teen moms. And so originally, that's where I had planned on it stopping. But then I noticed that a lot of low-income girls were asking me, well, you're mentoring her. Why can't you mentor me? And so I was like, well, that's a good question. Why am I not mentoring you? And so that's how the overall low-income girls started, because, going through life, I've learned a lot through life. And just to go back and explain to these girls, you don't have to live in poverty. I know the projects is what your mom have you in now, but there's more to life than living here in this one box. And try to just expose these girls to another way of living. I go in and teach them etiquettes. This is how you conduct yourself in public. Yes, it's okay to be behind closed doors, but you also want to present yourself in a certain way where you're not ignored. People, can identify your presence. And not to say that it's bad to be a certain way, not at all. But when people are quick to judge.
Right.
So I just want my girls to know, well, it's okay to be you, but you also want to present yourself in the best you and just try to kind of bring that out of them.
Now, let me stop you, because you said you were a teen mom and you don't even look like, you look like you just got out of your teens. And you're talking about I was a teen mom.
Yes. So I had my first daughter when I was in high school. I was 15 years old when I had her. And the story behind that is I got pregnant while I watched my mom battle with breast cancer. And so my mom was a single mother dealing with my dad, who had drug issues, who was abusive. And so she was dealing with her own life. So I had to step up to the plate and help her be her helper. Mm-hmm. And so dealing with that, coming out, move forward, she ended up having breast cancer. Well, we lived in Houston and my family lived in the Galveston area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was all that was there at the moment, you know, taking her to her doctor's appointments, helping her get through her chemo, just pretty much being her night nurse, pretty much.
At 15.
At 15. Well, it started off about 13. Because it was, years working into it. And so as things became more real, that, you know, we don't know where this is going, because the cancer started spreading. And even though my mom tried to keep me away, I was in the room or standing outside the door when doctors became very real. This is where you're headed. And so, yes, I was straight a nerd, but at that time I was looking for love. And of course, I went to a guy, ended up getting pregnant. 2 weeks before my daughter was born, my mom passed away. Actually, today is the anniversary that she passed away.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, August 18th. And so just dealing with that, not getting the, I don't want to say it's a Black family issue, but I think a lot of cultures fail to realize that kids have feelings, they have emotions, they are human. And so, you know, they kind of overlook that when they're dealing with situations like this. So I didn't have that emotional support that, hey, you know, you just lost your mom 2 weeks ago. Now you're giving birth at 15 to a child. You have a lot of different, you know, it may come out as anger, it may come out as frustration, but that's all an emotional battle. And so my first mentor as a teen mom was actually a counselor at school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was game changing, because she allowed me to know that you could still go to college. You know, it's not the end of the world. You could still have this life. You can still be whoever or whatever you want to be. And so that was the reason why I decided to give back, because if she wouldn't have stepped in at the moment she did to help me get through that emotional barrier that I was dealing with, helping me to understand, and it was okay to feel that way, because a lot of people don't, when you're going through things, people kind of brush it off. But she allowed me to understand it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be confused and not knowing where life is going to take you. You know, we moved from Houston to the Galveston area. That was a huge change. I'm leaving my friends. I'm leaving what I've known, you know, all my life, to move to a different area with family who, in reality, they were uncertain what was going to happen at this point, because my mom was 40 years old. So the reality of death, because she was the first one out of 7 kids to die, the reality of death is there. You know, you don't think at 40 that you might die, right? So wow. That reality kicked in, not just for me, it kicked in for them, of course, and them going through the grieving process.
Well, you know what? I'm thinking the power in that comes with having someone saying just simply, it's okay, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my daughter became pregnant at 17 and shook me to my core, did not expect it. You know, typically you think to yourself, you know, I'm coming home every day, I go to work every day, I go to church and whatever. How did this happen? I'm a minister sitting on the first thing was, oh my God, how do I go sit on the front pew as a minister? And I got this 17-year-old girl who's pregnant. Thank God I had a mother who, when my daughter called to tell her, the first words out of her mouth was, okay, so you have a problem, but the problem doesn't make you.
Right.
And I think if my mom had not, because I'm not going to lie, I wasn't there yet.
Right.
I was not there yet. I was in the still processing it mode. I'm still on the porch going, what?
Yeah.
What's going on? And my mom, just in this, her really gentle way, just made that one comment to her.
Right.
I think that changed the direct trajectory of the way my daughter viewed pregnancy. And let me say this to moms, because if you're hearing us talk about teen pregnancy and these young girls, it's okay to not get it right, but then make sure you let your child know.
Right.
I may not have gotten it right in that moment and in that second, but I quickly snapped out of it because, okay, this ain't going nowhere. So let's just put our big girl drawers on and let's just see what God's got. So thank God you had a counselor that was like, and they see I'm old school because I had counselors like that.
Right.
And now that when I talk to my granddaughter, she just graduated, I don't see that connection between them and their counselor. There's a huge disconnect in our school system.
It is.
It comes to what the counselor should be doing.
Right.
Offering to these kids. So that person made that big of an impact.
Yeah.
On your life. And you're dealing with grief.
Right.
Loss. And about to have a baby.
And my family is very religious still to this day. I was dealing with the judgmental church people. And if you don't know how that is, it is probably one of the worst feelings you would ever have in life. So that was another barrier that I dealt with for a long time. They wanted me to feel ashamed of myself, as if I shot Jesus.
Well, we know you had nothing to do with that. So
exactly, right. But that's how strong the judgment was in the church.
Man, I just talked to somebody, a young woman last night who is not in church because of some things that folk in the church said. That just
that and still to this day, I believe in God 100%, but when it comes to religion, that's a tricky subject for me, just because of how strong judgmental people are inside the church. And we start digging around their door, they don't want to move around, but no one, we're all here because no one's perfect. So
it's so really, that is really, and let me say, for those that are listening and you don't think that this connects, yes, it does, because that same feeling is so pervasive among our youth right now, that what they see and what they hear in God's house keeps them out of the house.
Right.
So how can we still have that kind of issue from the time you were 15 to now? We still having that.
And we still have those issues.
And how do we bridge that gap? Because I'm on the other side. I'm a minister. I'm committed to my walk, but also part of that walk includes finding a way to reach youth like yourself, who have made mistakes, like all of us have, because none of us are perfect, but who feel like, even though I made a mistake, I still can't turn to or trust someone within the church. That's crazy.
It took someone outside of the church to kind of open that door. And I to this day, I don't know what her religious beliefs were, but it was, to me, an angel sent at that moment to move me forward. So, there is an issue back then, and definitely an issue still there today. Which needs to be addressed.
For all y'all that don't know, we don't have that problem until Jesus come back. So we're gonna keep using the little remnants. The little remnants until we all get it together at some point in our time. So you went from that and going through all of that to being led to mentor young girls. And then discovered that other young girls needed that from you too.
Exactly.
Wow, what a validation. That's validated, seriously.
I know. Yeah, it is.
Power. That's like confirmation that I am truly doing what I'm called to do.
Right. And I always tell people that I didn't choose this path. Like, I don't even fully grasp, how did I get wrapped up in human trafficking? This path chose me. Really, honestly. I didn't go looking for this. I really didn't. A lot of stuff kind of fell in my lap, and it was like, okay, God, you're giving this to me, so you want me to address this, I will do that. But no, I didn't go looking for it.
Why do you think so many people are so afraid to talk about human trafficking and sex trafficking?
Because it makes it real. A lot of people want to live in a fairy tale world that everything is perfect. And no one wants to face the reality that if human trafficking is connected everywhere. I was just having a conversation with a lady yesterday, and she was talking and talking. We're talking about human trafficking, but I could tell she wasn't listening to me. She was just talking. And she was in New York. And I said, yes. Did you know that human trafficking in New York is the number one out of everyone in the United States? And she stopped and she looked. She was like, what? She's like, yeah, that's why I look at young girls. I said, yeah, but it's not a young girl's issue. It's everybody's issue. And a lot of people want to make it that's their issue, or, that has nothing to do with me. No, this is everybody's issue.
What? Wait a minute. Whoa. So a statistic that I looked at last week said Houston, and now it's New York.
So New York is number one. Houston is definitely number two.
Okay. So New York is one.
And then then Houston. Yeah.
Then Houston.
And that's scary.
And that's real scary.
Yeah.
That's real scary. And see, that's what I don't get. It's like you say those words and all of a sudden walls go up. Like, oh my God, you want to talk about sex trafficking and human trafficking, and oh my God, let's not. But this is everybody's issue.
Yeah, it is.
Period. I mean, you don't have to have a kid out there. You don't have to look. I look at it this way. I have granddaughters.
Right.
I have granddaughter.
Right.
Period. That's enough for me.
Exactly.
I have granddaughters. I have daughters. I raised 2 girls and didn't have to consider this.
Right. Well, this is the issue about human trafficking.
Why don't they talk about it? Why don't we hear about it? Why is it in the media? Why is it such a close, let me say it like this. It's almost like a secret society of people that know about it and want to do something about
it. The real issue is human trafficking has always been here. It's not a secret. Human trafficking, and I'm going to give you the definition, is modern day slavery. So what is human trafficking? It's slavery. So when you think about going way back to slavery, it's the same exact thing. It just never went away. It's the same exact thing. When Black people were in slavery, they kidnapped the girls or the women, and they became property, and they raped them, and they beat them, and they treated them any kind of way as if they were property. That's the same exact thing that they're doing today. There's no difference. So it's always been there. But people want to ignore slavery, which makes us put a blind eye to human trafficking. It is the same exact thing.
It's even worse.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Right.
Because if you ask my ancestors, it's not.
If you look back over our history,
right,
we would say no. But
right.
But in another way, this is where I mean it, because I'm not downplaying slavery at all.
Right.
I'm in this instance. This is like you see posts on Nextdoor, 2023. Women terrified because somebody followed them around in a grocery store.
Yeah.
From out, I just read this on Nextdoor. Followed her around aisle to aisle until she finally had to go up to the checkout aisle, say something to the young girl that was supposed to be checking her out, and then call her boyfriend and say, hey, you need to come in the store.
Right.
Because this man is just following me from aisle to aisle to aisle. And the way she described it, you knew what would have happened, because she said he didn't have anything in his hand. He wasn't ready to check out or anything like that. And so her boyfriend, fiance, had to come in the store, and they intentional. He went on one aisle, she went on another aisle, and the man followed her to the other aisle.
Right.
And her fiance walked up and said, "Can we help you?"
Right.
And that is the only way he left it. But she said she had this feeling that if it had been a different situation, would have snatched her. She said she knew it. She could feel it. who does? I mean, who does that? Do you go in the store? Now we have to think about
But we should have always been thinking like
with our
this.
daughters.
But
Yeah.
we should have always been, they made it so normal because it's the same thing that was in the 1980s when we seen that little poster paper on the side of the tree or on the wall. It's the same exact thing. The only difference is now we have social media. The only difference now, I have a cell phone where I can call you and say, hey, can you come walk with me to the car? That's the only thing that's different. It's always been here. We just identifying it differently. Because it was still fearful. I mean, still to this day, when you start thinking about Christmas and shopping and you're taking your grandkids, you want to hold them close. You felt like that with your girls when they were younger. It's the same exact thing. This same perv is still out there doing the same exact thing. It's just now we want to turn our eyes to, oh, it's different now. No, it's not different. Just like you had to look over your child when she was younger, when you were out and about grocery shopping and looking for clothes, or you might have someone, you might hear someone over the intercom saying, hey, has anyone seen this child? They're not with their parents anymore. You've seen police running. It's the same thing as if it was in the 60s. It's the same exact
thing. And really, folk, educate yourself and go back. I'm a documentary nut. Let me just say that. I'm a nerd. I love documentaries. Just go pull some of these documentaries about missing people and missing kids and missing women that just disappear off the face of the earth. And just think about that actual human beings can just disappear without a trace, I mean, we can watch the movie Taken 1, Taken 2, Taken 3.
Right.
But we can sit back and we can go, oh, now that's so far-fetched.
Right.
But in actuality,
it's not.
No, it's not.
It's really not. And that's what's happening every day.
Now, let me see if I can tie two things together, because, I like the idea of human trafficking and sex trafficking. Man, the other piece of that, because of where our new church is located, I did the demographics. I went back and I looked at the demographics. And I told you it's over the Heart of A Leaf. We're one street, we're on Beach Nut, the other street is Bissonnette. I didn't know they called it the Bissonnette Corridor. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The Bissonnette
That's
Corridor.
what the police called the hub.
Between Bissonnette and the Beltway. Right? So while I'm looking at the demographics, I'm looking at the number of homeless children, youth. As of 2021, I think that was the last date I saw. And it was over 1,400 kids considered homeless.
Yeah.
Probably more, because to me, I was like, well, it's probably more than this because of COVID.
Yeah.
Probably that number is probably a lot higher, and they're never going to say it, but come on now, grown folk lost housing with COVID. So, if kids were trying to struggle and find a place to stay, now people, come on. 1 + 1 gonna equal 2 all your lives.
Yeah.
If you have the hub is on Bissonnette.
Yep.
And A Leaf has of 2021 had over 1,400 youth that they considered homeless. What do y'all think gonna happen with these babies?
No, what's going to happen? What do they think is happening?
Is happening.
Because now you have increased their rates and their chances of becoming victims of human trafficking. And honestly, that moment where they sleep on the street that first night, they're already a victim.
Stay tuned. Porch Talk will be right back.
That's none of my business. Child, that ain't my problem. Well, today, someone in your state, in your city, and probably your neighborhood is being sold into trafficking. Someone is being held against their will to perform services such as prostitution, forced marriages, sell their organs, work in the field, or even as a maid. And that's just to name a few. This same person could be beaten, starved, tortured, drugged, or even raped. So, let's make this your business. And let's make this your problem. Stay alert and ask questions, because this is your business and this is our problem. Speak up and speak loud.
Now, people, y'all, come on. 1 + 1 gonna equal 2 all your lives.
Yep.
If you have the hub
Mm-hmm.
is on this and that.
Yep.
And A-Leaf
Right.
has of 2021 had over 1,400 youth
Yep.
that they considered homeless. What do y'all think gonna happen with these babies?
No, what's going to happen? What do they think is happening?
Is happening.
Because now you have increased their rates and their chances of becoming victims of human trafficking. And honestly, that moment where they sleep on the street that first night, they're already a victim.
Yeah.
Already at high risk. Because what do you do for survival? You don't have nowhere to go. You're hungry. You want clean clothes. So then you become vulnerable. So a lot of times people don't understand when we're talking about victims, a lot of these girls, boys, because it's girls and boys, a lot of these kids don't consider themselves as victims. This is just a way of life. Well, in reality, anybody under the age of 18 cannot be in commercial sex, cannot participate in commercial sexual activities. It's already illegal. But when I'm throwing you out or you're pushed out in the middle of the street, if you push me out, I go into survival mode and I'm an adult. It's the only thing is I can think a little bit differently because I'm an adult, so I'm thinking as an adult. But if you're pushing a child out to sleep on the street where it's frightening, who do you think they're going to turn to?
The first person.
They're going to turn to him.
They're going to turn
Say,
to
yeah.
the first person that's, okay, y'all, let me give y'all this scenario.
Yeah.
Because I had to look this up. And I had to learn, I had to figure out, I had to research what would this look like for a youth,
Right.
a young person, like Toseika said, under the age of 18, thinking like a child.
Right.
I know y'all think y'all grown, but you're still a child. Your
Mm-hmm.
mind still works that way.
Right.
So the scenario when I researched this went a little like this. The child is out there. They have nowhere to go. They spent the first night out on the streets,
Right.
just trying to survive.
Right.
The predator, because predators can smell prey. Let's just put it out there. Predators can smell prey. That's what they look for.
Yep.
Maybe the second night, they're out there. Then the predator approaches and say, hey, do you have anywhere to sleep?
Right.
You've been out there on the streets twice. Let's give them 3 nights. Well, I have somewhere you can stay. If you don't have anybody you can call, I got somewhere I can put you up for maybe a night.
Mm-hmm.
A kid is a kid. And they offer to feed them.
Yep.
Second, offer a meal and offer a warm place to sleep.
Right.
With no questions, no problem. No, I just want to help you. You just got a kid sucked into human trafficking.
Yep.
Didn't even know it. They were just a kid hungry, a kid homeless.
Right.
And that is how easy it is. So get out, and I think a lot of times we want to put this thing in our head like, well, they should know better or you ought to be. No, man, come on.
Well, this is the issue.
It's
Just
some wrong women falling for that.
I already say, well, not just that. When you listen to the story, most people, their imagination went straight to a man approaching this girl. They're not thinking that it's another teen. They're not thinking that it's a woman. Because that's very possible. Very possible.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly.
Go watch some documentaries, y'all, and see how this works.
Yeah.
How this works. Because, and that's real life. Yeah, you might be laughing out there when I say go watch the documentary, but it'll blow your mind. I'm gonna tell you, I watched that, and that sickened me.
Yeah.
It sickened me. What hurt my heart the most was that it was just young girls who were so lost,
yeah,
and needed something.
Yeah.
And they preyed on each other.
Yeah. Yep.
Really just trying to survive, like you said, surviving.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know if it's, I just think there are certain things that in our society we choose to be blind to.
Yeah.
Now, look, let me say this. Y'all gonna get mad because Rev Pat gonna see it. We're only blind until it happens to someone with money.
Yeah.
Until it happens to somebody big, some star, some athlete, something.
Right.
Connected to somebody that we have chosen to idolize and put on a pedestal.
Right.
We act like it's not happening.
Right.
And that's sad.
It is.
Because in your communities, and I'm sorry, I'm in Katy. I don't care if you're in Katy. I don't care if you're in A-Leaf. I don't care if you're in Southeast Houston, South Park. It doesn't matter.
Right.
In your community, this problem exists.
Yep.
This problem exists.
Everywhere.
And if you want to get real, oh my God, man, I'm gonna get my daughter to give you my phone, because I gotta pull something up. Sam, can you give me my phone y'all, I'm just real like that. And no sense of me acting like I can't remember this off my head. With you, I'm gonna help you blow their minds about how we are contributing to this, whether you know it or not, whether you are aware of it.
While she get the phone, I would like to point out, like, a lot of people try to ignore the fact that kids are also being trafficked by their parents, mothers and fathers, cousins and uncles, friends. These people are all also people who we always automatically assume it's a pimp. No, a lot of times it's their family members. You'll be surprised how many mothers. Yeah, you'll be surprised how many mothers sell their kids to traffickers. They'll groom them up, whether it's to pay the rent, whether it's to please a boyfriend or a husband, whether it is to a drug issue. There's all different reasons why family members or friends pimp these kids out, because that's exactly what it is. We're pimping these kids out. But there's different reasons, but most of the time it's not a stranger. And that's a big thing that people overlook. We expect it to be a stranger to approach your child. No, it's usually someone that these children trust.
Girl, don't make me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how many going into the juvenile system and talking to these girls. A lot of their issues that they have with the drinking and the drugging is to deal with what issues they had at home, usually with the mother, and it's usually the mother. Most of the time that I've experienced recently, it was the mother that was pimping these kids out.
Oh, wait a minute. What's the average age? Share with the audience what the average age.
So
the young ladies that you.
Okay, so when you look at statistics, it'll tell you between 14 to 17. But I have talked to girls as young as 10 who have been trafficked by a family member as young as 10. Can you imagine what you're doing at 10 years old? I was still playing with dolls.
I know what I was doing at 10. I was on lockdown because my daddy didn't play that. I was talking to people through the screen window because we couldn't go outside.
Exactly. So imagine being 10 and somebody, your mom or your dad, getting ready to make you sleep with the next man. Because that's what's happening. And a lot of times we want to overlook it. Now, you see men in and out and you think, oh, mama must be a prostitute. You might want to look deeper in there and make sure that it's the mama sleeping around and she not selling her child. Oh, she's got a lot of boyfriends. Well, why does she have a lot of boyfriends around her kids? Like, we need to start asking questions to ourselves to really get to the root of the issue, because we see it. A lot of times we just ignore it because that's just normal. Just like a prime example, and it doesn't have anything to do with trafficking, but it's just a prime example of the little boy who died last year in A-Leaf in the apartments, where the mom boyfriend killed him.
Yeah.
He killed the boy and he was in the apartments. Look at all these people that said they knew it was an issue, but they ignored the issue. Well, if you would address that issue, start asking questions, then
I'm still trying to figure out how y'all didn't smell something coming out of that room. That's, I mean, a dead body for that long, and nobody's
complaining about the smell. And if the apartment people won't do something, well, I'm gonna have to call the police. Somebody about to investigate why I'm keep smelling this smell every day. People, we need to start thinking. We need to start asking questions. We need to start speaking up.
You know,
this is not okay. That's not okay. So, but that's just
a day and time when you had them nosy neighbors down the street that called your mama and told your mama everything that you did while she was at work.
Yeah.
We need to get back. We need to get back to community.
Exactly.
And this disconnect, I'm sorry, people stop blaming it on COVID, because this disconnect did not begin with COVID.
No, not at all.
The only thing COVID did was keep us in our places. But it didn't cause the disconnect in the community. The community was already disconnected. We became disconnected.
Right.
And we became so involved with our life, with the mood and the mind. When back in the day, it got on my nerves that I had the little old lady down the street that was calling my parents. But you know what? I am so grateful, because through those people, I knew, whether I liked it or not, I knew they were there. Let me just say that. I knew they were there. My dad used to just get on me. Why do you have all these kids at your house? Because I knew those kids didn't have a place of safety. And they knew that if they were at Mama Gail's house, baby, it was her language you weren't going to use. You weren't spending that night. If you weren't going to bring clothes so you can get up and go to church, you were going to clean up my house just like you were my child.
Exactly.
Those type of things. As a single mother.
Right.
But so it's community. I think the community at its worst.
Yeah.
You can ignore, if this problem can continue to grow. I was watching a video about how they tried to stem the tide over on Bissonnette in 2016. 2016, and we're in 2020. And the problem was worse. What happened?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Exactly. Because people are still pointing fingers and saying it's your fault, it's my fault. Let's blame it on politics. Let's blame it on the police. Oh, that's her mama's fault. No, that's her daddy's fault. Everybody pointing fingers and nobody's addressing the issue.
That's just something that makes you go, I had an initiative in 2016 and the problem is worse in 2023.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yep.
Now I understand. Now, I would say I understand that there are those. Let me clarify this, because I know a lot. This is another issue of fear. There are those that are literally called, courageous men and women that are called to actually go in and rescue, put their lives on the line to rescue these young men and young women. Can we get that out of our heads, that somebody, when they say we need to work with others to resolve this, we're not asking you to put on those Superman or Superwoman cape and go in and try to grab somebody out of somebody's hands. Nobody's saying that, but there are organizations, there are initiatives that you can become a part of. You can become I Spy in your neighborhood when you see something going on.
Right.
And say, hey, look, that just doesn't seem right to me.
Right.
What should I do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it out there. The churches are too quiet about it.
Yeah.
Because it can't just be the church that's on the same street with the problem that's saying something.
Exactly.
Because one day it's going to be on your street too. I'm sorry.
Well, it's already on their street. They just choose to ignore it because it's everywhere. It doesn't have, it doesn't say, well, this is low income, I'm gonna work here, or, you know, this is poverty. No, this is everywhere. It doesn't matter your income. They just looking for people.
Okay, now you just said something really important right there. Because there has to be a point where we educate folk enough to understand this ain't just a po-po problem.
No, it's not. It's not. Hence the reason why the lady was in the store scared. I'm sure she wasn't poor.
Katie.
You know? Exactly.
Yeah, Katie, y'all. Said Katie.
Yeah.
In Katy, Texas, where we don't expect that sort of thing to happen. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I'm in a mood to be real today, Toseika. So I'm in
I mean, but
I'm in
a prime example.
Is this issue? So it's so real. I'm in overdrive real today. Before we go any further, let me help the listeners understand how we contribute and we don't even know it.
Okay.
There's a law called the McKinney-Vento Act in Texas. McKinney-Vento, VENTO. Y'all need to look this up and research it and go call your school district. This is a federal law, LAW, that provides assistance to states to help them ensure educational rights and protection for children and youth experiencing homelessness. Let me break it down for you. They have a representative in every school district in this state. In every state, actually. Whether y'all know it or not, in every state, they have a representative in the school districts that monitor the homeless students that are on the books. And what they do is they go and they ensure what this means when we hear this. Let me just tell y'all so you can write this down and call some folk. Provide assistance to states to help them ensure educational rights. And what that translates into is that they will go and pick up homeless kids and make sure that they get to school, use a school bus, make sure they get to school, and make sure they get counted as present, and then take them back to wherever they supposedly live, but they do know that they're homeless. Now, well, Miss Pat, that's a nice thing. Well, no, they get paid additional federal monies for this. So on top of your tax dollars that you're paying in your school, as part of your homeowners tax fees, whatever, that you're paying to your school district to ensure bus transportation. On top of that, you're paying additional tax money to fund this program. Call your schools, ask for the person that is the representative for the McKinney-Vento Homeless Act. And then ask them to explain to you why on their posters that they give to kids. I don't know. Toseika, I'm still trying to figure out how do you hand out flyers like this. You can pull up a sample of the flyer on your school district's thing, whatever. On this flyer, they have it broken down into areas. Homeless, this is how they define homeless. They're living in a car with the parent, or they are staying with a family member or a friend. They're sleeping on the sofa, or they're sleeping in a bus or train station. Or they're sleeping in a campground. How many campgrounds do you have in KDISD? And how do you go pick up a kid that is homeless from a campground or a bus station or a train station, which we don't have train stations, pick them up for school and take them back? Y'all, come on. Figure that out for yourself. Does that make sense? And I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what I know, because I called the representative that represents our school district. My question to her was, what do you do with these babies that don't have anywhere to go? Crickets.
And she had no answer. Ever say they don't.
Do you have any community programs that could come in and help the school? Help with this problem? Crickets. Do you work with any churches in the area and identify this problem? Crickets. Y'all, I'm just telling you, we are contributing to a problem that we don't even have a clue we're contributing to.
Yep.
Because I'm going to say to you what I said to her. You're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. You know that you have children on your roll under the age of 18 that have nowhere to go, and your only concern is making sure they get counted present at school
Get money.
and get money for it, but you're not working actively to find them a place. And in case y'all don't want to know, I know I said I was going to let this kid, but this is one of the ones where this is why I could not unsee what I know.
Right.
If the child is under the age of 18, they are on their own to find somewhere to live.
Yeah.
18, they will help them find a shelter. Under the age of 18, they do not.
No. And another trick to that is they're supposed to involve CPS. And it was a total separate, actually it was a case where I was talking about earlier with a little boy, because I was subbing at the time and I was working in the front office, and it came out that the little boy had died. And I said, well, when we have situations like this, why isn't the school calling CPS to address these issues? Because I'm sure the boy just didn't up and die. I'm sure there was a history of concerns there. Why didn't the school get the authorities involved? And the response to me was, well, CPS doesn't come when we call. They tell us we have our own system in place, such as social workers and workers to go and address these issues. Well, if we have social workers to address these issues, like homeless kids, then why are you guys not working together to come up with a solution to fix it together? So these kids will continue to fall.
There's social workers in schools. They have social workers in schools.
They have social workers. But the issue is the social workers are just that, social workers. They go out and they identify the issue, but it doesn't go beyond that. It doesn't go beyond identifying that there's an issue. Everybody knows that there's an issue. It doesn't take a genius to realize that we have an issue, but who's going to address this issue? You can't say, oh, well, we have something in place. We have social workers. And in reality, you don't have the same connect with like CPS do to say, hey, let's remove these kids from this house and put them into a better place. Or let's get these kids off the street and put them in homes, because CPS has that right. CPS can come in and find these kids a place. But the disconnect is CPS saying that's y'all issue. You have social workers in place. Figure it out. How is that helping you?
So what about this? Why don't we just take that funding that you're giving from the McKinney-Vento Act and funnel it into the social workers that are working in the school and pay for them to have more resources?
How about they build a shelter for these kids? Take that money and build a shelter within the school district.
Well, you know that, don't even go there, because why, with all of the land that we have in Texas, you can't find a place
exactly
to build a dedicated shelter for kids that are homeless and fund it until the kids graduate school or turn age 18, but give them some sort of training, education, and footing.
Right.
And footing.
Yep.
Until there's either a home found for them or until they graduate school and they've been equipped enough, let me use that word, equipped enough to go out and get a job and take care of themselves. But that's I'm really ticked off that my tax dollar go toward a law that I didn't even know about. So y'all know if y'all gonna get mad now, because that's your tax dollars too.
Yeah.
That's your mom and them tax money, that's your auntie, that's Uncle Bubba's money, that's all our money being paid to schools, because my mindset is we already have a bus. We already pay you for school buses. What do you mean we're gonna give you some extra federal money?
Exactly.
For school buses? Y'all, if y'all think that it's only one bus that goes running around picking up homeless kids, y'all crazy.
No, yeah.
Same bus that picked your kid up at the corner is going to pick up that homeless kid at his Uncle Nene's house.
Yep.
Just to get, because let's make this clear, for every kid that gets counted present on the roll, the school gets what? More money.
Yep.
More money.
Yep. That's it.
They ain't worried about those babies. They're not worried about those babies finding a place to live. They're worried about getting more money.
Yeah.
I'm just telling, like I said, let's hurry up because I'm on a list. We'll roll right now.
And that was one of the issues when I started working with the foster kids and I started working with the human trafficking kids. I realized that there are not a lot of resources, especially for the younger kids that are part of human trafficking. There's not a lot of resources available for these kids. Now, once they're 18, yeah. But honestly, under the age of 18, you know, the best solution for these kids is to go to jail.
Don't say
that. So it's not a lot of resources. That's where they end up. My question is, how is it illegal for me to not be able to participate in commercial sex activities, but yet if I'm caught, I'm legal enough to go to jail? How does that work? How does it work that I'm being taught? Because this is not something that I was birthed with. This is not a talent that you get. This is something that happened to me. Regardless if it comes with stealing, regardless if it comes with drinking, regardless if it comes with drugging, that's all part of the lifestyle. So regardless of why you pick me up for it, why you not sending me somewhere for counseling to deal with this issue instead of putting me in jail and saying you did something bad? How did I do something bad when something bad happened to me?
Something bad happened to me, and this is a result.
Exactly.
Of what happened. This is a result of me being used and abused, and now I'm paying the penalty. So if you wondering why my head is jacked up, it's because I'm trying to figure out how does this work out in my favor.
Exactly.
When I'm being used and abused. Somebody has put me in a system I'm not supposed to be in.
Right.
The system didn't keep me out of it.
Right.
And now that if I happen to get caught,
I'm going to
now the system is going to penalize me even more. So y'all, come on.
This is what's wrong.
We have got to see this. If you want to change the trajectory of our communities, then you got to address what's going on with our youth.
Yep.
You cannot think that what we see going on in our communities will end until our communities start to be the voice and the advocate for our youth. And we can't just sit around waiting on everybody else to pick it up and say, hey, look, sure, there are plenty of agencies that are getting funding, but it's not the grassroots agencies. No. It's the big time agencies that have big time people with big time money funding them and propelling them forward. But it's not the grassroots folk like Toseika or myself that are concerned and want to do something. And that's crazy to me. I don't know, was it you that told me that there's no community, nothing really happening in the area to help?
No, it's not. That probably was me. And when you say the big people, the big agencies, I wanted to piggyback on that. People need to understand that these bigger agencies is all politics, because now politics are involved. And let's be real here. Like I said earlier, it's not a poverty thing. These political parties are part of human trafficking. Not all of them are good. So the people that we're voting in are also part of the human trafficking, hiring these girls. That's why I say it's not just poverty, because if you're gonna sleep with somebody that is a congressman, you're not gonna want some little poor looking girl. What you gonna want? Someone from Beverly Hills or Bel Air. You're gonna want something that looks like it belongs in his house. So yeah, those girls are just as much as at risk as the low income girls, because yes, people with high money, high places, look at R. Kelly, everybody kept on trying to ignore that. People in high places are part of the problem, which makes it even more difficult. And the bigger the organization, you have to be careful, because the bigger the organization, the more money. But where is this money coming from? Is the money coming to make you be quiet and just pass it along to put bare minimum? Because a lot of the bigger organizations are not advocating for these kids. They're putting Band-Aids on it. And that's a big issue. So the concern is different.
Y'all, I'm telling you, y'all gonna have to start doing y'all homework. I'm saying, man, y'all need to become nerds. Watch some of these. Y'all gotta watch some of these documentaries that are hitting some of these. I mean, if you're not gonna look it up on YouTube or you're not gonna Google it, they have some documentaries that are coming out about some things that have happened with big name people that would blow your mind. And it's true stuff. I'm not talking about conspiracy theory, because I don't do conspiracy. I'm talking about for real, true.
Right.
This is what happened. These women brought charges. These young women brought charges. They were busted behind this stuff. And it's the same thing. We may think it's different, but
exactly, it's the same exact thing.
It's the same thing. It's just dressed up to look better, but it's the same exact thing. That's what I'm saying. We can be upset about Jeffrey Epstein,
right?
But we're not upset about what's going on right around the corner.
Exactly.
It's the same thing.
It's the same people, just a different face. It's the same people, different face. And the thing is, people need to understand the sex industry within itself is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I'm not just, when people turn on porn, they think, oh, I'm just looking at people that are consenting to have sex. That's not always true. And some of these girls look older than 18 and they could just be 15. I've seen girls that look way older than me, and I'm almost 40. So you need to keep that in mind, that we are fighting against something that, one, we're fighting against people who have power, who have money, and we're fighting against a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Oh my God.
So money talks. So
y'all know y'all can see my eyes. My eyes are big. I'm trying to make sure I stay like concerned looking, but really my eyes are like, well, I just be dang. But y'all, it's a lot to take in. We're gonna have to scale back, because this is the tip of the iceberg. But I'd rather have real conversations about real issues,
right,
than to dance around and make. We're not gonna have comfortable issues about uncomfortable subjects.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't have a comfortable conversation about an uncomfortable subject. Yeah. It's going to have to make you squirm. It's going to have to make you think.
Right.
But before we leave, we didn't even get to the podcast. Tell them about your podcast before we end, so that our producer won't kill us. But also, I need you to share with them ways that they can help you or join you in what you're doing. Okay,
so the podcast is Mask Off, and we are pretty much doing the same thing we're doing here. We're taking off that mask. Everyone want to put their makeup on, put their nice clothes on, and act like everything is perfect. Well, it's not. So we're taking off those masks, and we're being open and honest about the issues that we face each and every day. And so the Mask Off topics vary from health. You need to take care of yourself, your body. You need to get mammograms, men and women. You know, diabetes. If you haven't, whatever Big Mama had, you can't keep eating fried chicken every day, you know?
Shut up and leave my fried chicken alone.
We need to start taking care of our bodies, the inside out. We need, we're talking about not just, we focus today on the people who are outside. Mask Off focuses on the people who are also inside the church, because there are monsters inside the church. These are the people that we open our hearts to, our lives to, we trust, but they messing with our kids. They messing with, so Mask Off covers a variety of topics, dealing with suicide issues. The kids, a lot of our kids are dying from suicide, from drug overdose. Those are issues that a lot of people want to overlook and act like they don't exist, but they're there.
And those numbers are rising.
They're rising. So those are the type of topics that Mask Off cover from business to human trafficking to real related issues that a lot of people want to ignore. Just like I'm working now on the topic, a lot of people want to talk about racism, but do we really understand how it affects us emotionally? A lot of people don't. That's an emotional issue that we battle with every day. And that's why when you see the police and you Black, your mind, you know, so that is a real issue. And
the mask off. If you weren't uncomfortable, you are now. Let me say that. If you weren't uncomfortable, you are now. Now, how can they help you with finding this?
So Finding Destiny, I am working on 2 pilot programs. The first one is I am partnering with Harris County Juvenile System, and I am looking for mentors to go in and do exactly what needs to be done. We're working with human trafficking victims, or those girls who are at higher risk of being human trafficking victims that are in the juveniles. And people get scared when I say juvenile. These kids are not bad kids. These kids who have been in situations, who are hurt by adults, who have trust issues because the adults that were placed in their lives, whether it's through birth or along the way, have broken that trust. And not just broken that trust, broken them. These kids are broken. And I'm looking for people, right now I'm working with girls who are strong enough to help rebuild these girls and let them know that it's hard right now, but life gets better. We can sit here and talk about God. I'm a strong believer. We can talk about God all day, but it means absolutely nothing if you're not going to do his work.
If you're not going to be about the Father's business, it's just charter.
You know, Jesus wasn't at church all day long. Jesus wasn't sitting, exactly. Jesus was out in his community saving souls. So that's what is expected of us, to go out in the community and rebuild people. And I'm looking for people to help me rebuild these girls, self-esteem, help them get on track and have a better life. I'm also working on an emergency shelter for human trafficking girls, which hopefully I'm working on having it by the spring of or summer of next year. It's a lot of red tape, guys, but that is a pilot that I'm working on too, is at least get one shelter, because in reality, like we said earlier, if these kids become homeless, they are more likely to become human trafficking victims. So if we can provide shelter for these kids, we decrease the chances of this child becoming a victim. And so if you want to help, you can always go to my website, www.findingdestiny.org. And there is an email address on there and a telephone number. You can reach out to me and we can talk about the different ways that you're willing or wanting to coordinate.
Okay, y'all. Did y'all hear that? www.findingdestiny.org.
Yes.
Right? Because I know all the time we want to do .com, but it's not. It's .org.
It's .org.
Look, I'm going to say this. If you know, or if you are able to help, do that. Do that. It's not many times. There are not many times that we have an opportunity to make a difference.
Right.
If you're going to make a difference in anybody's life, let it be the life of a child who has already been so broken by the system,
right,
by the people that they should have trusted, by the teachers and administrators that ignored the sign, that knew probably or should have known, right, and missed, yeah, that something was going on. So I'm going to say, if you have the resources or the tool or the ability, not necessarily money,
no,
if you have a heart to help, right, if you have the resource or the tools to assist accomplishing a shelter, an emergency shelter, or a heart to reach out and to be a mentor to these young women.
Right.
If you can't reach out to Skia at findingdestiny.org, join my private Facebook group called Chosen Covered. Called Chosen Covered. Private Facebook page. And once I approve you to get in, you reach out to me personally. You reach out to me and you say, hey, I heard the podcast and I want to help. How can I help? I'm not leaving it open. I'm not going to close it and just say, well, this was just a great interview, because this interview is way more than just a good interview. This is a cry out for us to take back our community. We are the only ones who are going to take back our communities. If we don't do it, guess what? Let me give you something to sleep on. It might be your granddaughter. It might be your daughter. It might be your niece.
Or son.
Let me say it again. It might be your daughter or your granddaughter or your niece. That might be the next one. That may be the one walking through being followed through the store and snatched up. Because they are in every store, in every neighborhood. That's not a scare tactic, that's the truth. Look up the statistics yourself. It's for real. So just think of it this way. If Houston is number 2 on the map in the country, that means not one neighborhood can be counted out. Not one neighborhood can be counted out. And with that, I'm Rev Pat. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Porch Talk. I invite you to join me next week, right back here on the porch. You have the opportunity to follow me, to subscribe to Beyond the Porch. That is a subscription. Once you subscribe to Porch Talk, you then have access to Beyond the Porch with me, where I have really open, really real conversations that nobody else gets to hear except you as a subscriber. So in order to subscribe, just go to look at the link below, and you'll see the link below so that you can join and become a subscriber. And I hope to see you there. I hope you join me right back on the porch. Be ready to have your coffee, your tea, or your wine. But meet me back here on the porch next week. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much.